This is part 2 of the Pied Piper of Peoria, how American culture can lure you from God and weaken your faith. I'm Mike Zigarelli. I want to introduce you to Sam and Michelle. They're your typical, busy, 30-something American couple. Good people who are simply going through their day, taking care of one responsibility after another. They're up early, they get their kids off to school, they go to work, run errands, make dinner, help the kids with their homework, and occasionally enjoy some leisure time after that. Consider with me how many times during their day they hear the seemingly innocuous melody of secularism and how that might affect them. Sometimes the Piper's music is overt and blaring, but usually it's a lot more subtle. Regardless the form, though, it's always calling. Listen for it with me. The alarm clock goes off at 6:05. Sam has set the dial to a soft rock station. It's a middle ground between his preference for hard rock and his wife's preference for top 40. The tune on the radio is a familiar one, and it plays for about a minute before Sam flails an arm to silence it. Imagine there's no heaven, it's easy if you try, no hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries, it isn't hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Before Sam's feet even hit the ground, secularism hits him. The lyrics in so much contemporary music assume that God is either not there or irrelevant to our lives. Sometimes the message is obvious, like in this John Lennon song. Most of the time, though, it's not, like in the song Sam heard on his way to work, when he could choose the radio station unilaterally. I'm driving past your house while you were sneaking out. I got the car door open so you can jump in on the run. Your mom don't know that you were missing. She'd be pissed if she could see the parts of you that I've been kissing, screaming, no, we're never gonna quit. Ain't nothing wrong with it, just acting like we're animals. No matter where we go, 'cause everybody knows we're just a couple animals. Sam has half his brain on his 9 o'clock meeting and the other half on the images conjured up by the lyrics. Another secular seed is planted. If we're nothing more than animals, creatures that simply indulge themselves in hedonistic, instinctual pleasures, then this is not a healthy moment for Sam. He might as well feed poison to his marriage. It would have the same effect. Back at the ranch, Michelle has just gotten the kids out the door to school. In the background is a morning show from one of the major networks, advising Michelle what she should be wearing this spring, how to look fab on a budget, how to downplay her hips and thighs, what colors will make her look thinner. Michelle's not exactly taking notes, she's not even watching, but it's merely the first such incursion today, encouraging her to obsess about what she looks like. Later that day, her soap operas normalize revenge. A celebrity chef whips up a decadent dessert, and Oprah weighs in with her New Age guru du jour. For Michelle, the TV's just usually background noise. She's almost always doing something productive around the house during the day. It's incessant noise, though, replete with recurring messages. Beauty is something you buy. So is happiness. You owe it to yourself to have more. Look out for number one because no one else will look out for you. And then there are the commercials. By one account, the average American is exposed to 247 commercial messages each day. That's from Consumer Reports in 2001, so it's probably a low estimate given the acceleration of ad placement this past decade. But regardless the exact number, this much is true. Sam and Michelle are bombarded daily by print ads, billboards, TV and radio commercials, pop-up ads, and strategically located logos. And every one of those promotions invites the couple to embrace a particular message or idea. Consider, for example, the 3 advertisements that assaulted Michelle within seconds of opening a magazine over breakfast. A diamond ad, a Botox ad, and a fur coat ad. The products are different, but the messages are essentially the same. Indulge. You deserve it. You're worth it. Life's too short to do otherwise. There are plenty of other messages implicit in these promotions, but frankly, Michelle's not pondering any of them. She's simply flipping through the magazine while eating her oatmeal. The house is finally quiet after the morning rush, but the Piper's music remains. He plays softly, unobtrusively, and with no insistence that Michelle listen. He's just there. But curiously, after years of hearing it, the music stays in Michelle's head, luring her without her knowledge, changing the way she thinks about possessions, and ultimately affecting her decisions. Decisions about whether she needs a new car, about how often to eat out, about whether $4 coffee is reasonable, about whether the family needs a bigger house, about how much to buy her kids for Christmas, and about countless other purchases. 5 miles away, the piper is regaling Sam and Michelle's kids. They're learning that the first Thanksgiving was celebrated because the Pilgrims were thankful. Thankful to whom, though, is classified information, or perhaps censored would be more accurate. God, it seems, is a 4-letter word in their public school. Equally subtle is their science class, where they're taught that atheistic Darwinian evolution is established fact. The teacher is not hostile to other creation perspectives. Those perspectives are simply not worth mentioning because they're assumed untrue, or at best, unknowable. Next is their health class, where they're learning about the proper use of a condom. Teens will be teens, so better safe than sorry, you know. Abstinence is mentioned as a birth control option, but its cursory treatment in class suggests it's an option that's neither realistic nor endorsed. There's a melody, a worldview that transcends the kids' education, a consistent message in public schools, and public universities for that matter, that God has nothing to do with history, nothing to do with science, nothing to do with math or government or economics or sex ed, nothing to do with knowledge or real life. To be sure, that message is not taught directly to students. Rather, it's caught indirectly by students through the teachers ignoring any connection between God and the subject matter. Stated differently, Sam and Michelle's kids are exposed daily to a hidden curriculum at school, a curriculum that teaches without ever saying a word about God, and indeed by never saying a word about God, that God is irrelevant. Sam and Michelle don't realize this, but their kids' public school has essentially become a secular temple. Some of its high priests are the leaders of the National Education Association, the teachers' union, the largest and arguably most influential union in the United States. Despite much of its good work over the years to improve teacher working conditions and teacher quality, the NEA has also created a system where faith-based perspectives cannot encroach on education, where God has no place in the classroom, and where public schools are to be religion-free zones. In fact, the union says so explicitly. For American education to flourish, religious dogma must neither guide nor hamper the pursuit of knowledge by students and teachers in our public schools. Not surprisingly, then, the NEA has not only guided its teachers to adopt a secularized curriculum, they've also fought hard to sequester teachers and administrators of faith, and increasingly students of faith, from giving any voice to a Christian worldview. Only one flute player is permitted in this school band. As a result, along with some willing accomplices in the courts and in the university schools of education, the NEA has now cultivated a generation of teachers who are loath to discuss anything supernatural or religious, except perhaps the Crusades and the Inquisition, effectively severing the realm of theology from the realm of knowledge. In the process, they're shrewdly and often invisibly indoctrinating Sam and Michelle's kids, shepherding them daily toward a more secularized understanding of God. The music in this temple is among the most spellbinding in the piper's repertoire. Meanwhile, on the job, Sam is undergoing a similar kind of indoctrination. God, it seems, has not only been expelled from school, he's been kicked out of most workplaces as well. Sam has been socialized by the corporate culture at work. For years, he's understood that his role is to solve problems, to achieve the goals set before him, to do whatever it takes to move the company forward. How he gets there is generally up to him, but the priority is clear. Get the job done. That's why we pay you the big bucks, his boss is fond of saying to Sam. That's a plain and explicit message to Sam and his coworkers. It's the corporate culture, the normal way of doing things where Sam works, the philosophy of how we do business around here. And it's a philosophy that has another fancy name, Pragmatism, which is actually just a particular form of secularism. Pragmatism is the worldview that the right thing to do is the thing that works to solve the problem. It's everywhere in the American workplace. Whatever gets us market share, whatever beats the competition, whatever gets customers' attention, whatever keeps our cash flow healthy, whatever gets us investor dollars, whatever gets our employees to work hard, whatever works, that's the thing to do. Stated more formally, pragmatism has been called the cash value of an idea. If it pays, financially or otherwise, then do it. If it doesn't, then don't. Let's be clear about one thing here. Being pragmatic, being an effective problem solver, is usually a good thing from a Christian perspective. The difficulty comes when pragmatic in the moment morphs into pragmatism as a way of life, when it becomes the ultimate arbiter of right and wrong, when it becomes the default condition for getting things done, as it is in Sam's workplace. That default, now Sam's default, eclipses other ways of making decisions. Though Sam has only been with the company a couple years, this Pied Piper of pragmatism has, unbeknownst to Sam, lured him away from a God-centered approach to his work and his leadership, since it's assumed that God is not relevant to getting things done. In part 3 of this broadcast, we'll look at 5 more ways that the secular culture can change how we think and how we live.